And we're live, and welcome everyone. This is, although I thought about, about how funny it would be if I actually did that. Like I was like talking to you, and then just out of nowhere, as soon as it went to zero, I was like, all right, hey everyone. Like I just like changed everything. You'd be like, what is going on right now? This is kind of strange.
It is actually kind of how it works though sometimes, and it's it's deeply unnatural.
It is. It's very much.
It's not what you expect.
Not at all. Kind of similar to, this is a slight tangent, but if you're taking a picture, and like if someone is asking me, oh Kevin, let's take a picture of you over there, and it's just me by myself, like in a beautiful landscape or whatever, and like it's just me standing, like it just feels weird to just stand there and smile. Like, what am I smiling about? Like if I have at least one other person next to me, like, okay, I'm smiling because I'm next to you, kind of thing. So it's like, just get a random person, hey, come over here for 1 minute so I can not look awkward smiling, okay? Random person in the picture, and then I'll just Photoshop them out afterwards.
What do I do with my hands? What do I do with my hands?
Exactly.
I don't know.
What do I do?
It's a beautiful place.
Behind me, up, little point, little peace sign. Peace sign is always a good, or a thumb up. That's a little.
Thumbs up is yeah. I mean, the piece is pretty classic. That's a classic.
Yeah,
No, you can't be mad at somebody giving peace.
Exactly. Man, but I'm really excited to chat with you. We're gonna go for maybe about 30 or so minutes. Like probably not go too far over that, because I'm actually trying to make these episodes just more succinct. I think part of that is actually coming, with specific things that I want to talk about, which definitely want to kind of hear about Nerve. I mean, in its simplest form, as a musician, as an artist, as a creator, and as someone who's very much interested whenever there's something that comes on my radar in the music space that can help musicians. For example, there have been a few different companies recently that I've come across that have live streaming platforms built by musicians for musicians with better payouts and all that kind of stuff. And things like that are super exciting to me, right? As someone who, I love live streaming, that's like what it's all about. So I want to jump in and just first give you a chance to just maybe introduce yourself, like tell my audience. And by the way, we're not live right now. This will be like edited and posted and everything. Just wanted to let you know, because I think sometimes people always ask that like midway through. But yeah, I want you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about sort of the background of Nerve, how it came about, and things like that.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm John, and I think the right thing to say is, I guess I've been in fintech for 15 years, and
Okay.
fintech is financial technology, which essentially it's the underbelly of moving money and managing money and all of the stuff that kind of you do on a daily basis for trying to figure out how to keep more money in your wallet and spend less, or manage your day to day. And I, as a prior to getting into fintech, I'd say a few years prior, I was trying to make it as a DJ in Chicago while going to school. The idea was effectively I could use this fun gig of spinning records to pay my way through school. And it sounds cool. It's a great idea. But for me, I just wasn't talented enough.
So, you were interested and you enjoyed it, just not the talent.
Absolutely. My buddies, they were all really good, but what I really fell in love with almost more than anything else was the music itself and the artists that created the music that I was playing for these audiences who otherwise probably would never hear this stuff. And primarily what I was playing was rare funk and soul, like 45s, so records. I remember very distinctly being at the tables one night and thinking, what if this Jeff, the guy who was the vocalist on this record, who had died, no doubt, decades earlier. What if he were to walk in right now and watch, and by the way, this poor, this gentleman certainly died thinking that nobody enjoyed his music. May have sold 5 copies of this record in existence.
Wow, so underground stuff we're talking.
For sure. And what if he were to walk in right now and see 400 people dancing to this song? Like, and
Mm.
it still gives me goosebumps to think about that.
Yeah.
And that, I think a lot of DJs who play that type of music, or people who spin that music, that's probably a common thought maybe in their minds. I'm not going to say it was original to me, but what it did is it gave me a lot of excitement. This was probably the late '90s, to start collecting what in my mind was probably the most interesting style of music, which was music that had been recorded by talented artists, but had never actually been released, and in
Mm.
particular where the musicians themselves were kind of lost to time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started just probably an insane hobby, which is collecting these acetates and reels of
Mm.
unpublished, rather unproduced in some ways. Some of it's like finished.
Yeah.
Some of it's like starter ideas. But
Where were
and
you getting this stuff from?
uh, to be honest, it was a variety of like record stores,
Yeah. Okay.
pretty much globally. If
Okay.
you think about it, like the way that this stuff kind of ended up in record stores was, for the most part, you think about being a musician in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and you for one reason or another didn't have access to
Mm.
A&R, obviously all of the wonderful distribution capabilities that
Sure.
we have today.
Sure.
So what you would do is oftentimes you'd record like a demo, and your demo would look a lot like an acetate, or maybe it'd be on reels, but typically it would look like a record, and
Mm-hmm.
that record has like a very thin layer of acetate, and it can be played just a few times.
Okay.
It's prior to the actual manufacturing process. It's kind of a really, the idea is effectively it was traditionally used in the recording process to listen to levels and hear, yeah, that sounds right. Okay, good. Let's go to manufacturing. But
Gotcha. Gotcha.
if you weren't there yet, you'd kind of create what was effectively a demo, and you bring it with you to gigs in case somebody were to be in the audience and go, hey there, I'd love to sign you, and you're like,
Yeah.
here's my demo, right?
There you go.
It But what would happen is, unfortunately, is oftentimes those dreams and those dreamers didn't necessarily that didn't connect, and so those acetates would end up in their kids' collections with Neil Diamond records and all sorts of other stuff,
Mm.
and then before you know it, those records would be sold to a record store,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody ever walks into a record store saying, "Hey, do you have material from an artist I've never heard of, recorded on a piece of media that dies after 7 plays?" No one's ever
Right.
asking for acetates.
Never.
So asking, getting that content back in the '90s and early 2000s was actually pretty easy. These days, I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have kind of glommed onto it, and it's quite a bit expensive. But anyway, the point is, I'd collect all this material. My hope was that one day technology would advance to where, what was really burgeoning at the time was like the Music Genome Project, which became kind of Pandora and everything,
Mm. Okay.
and technology would get cheap enough, because at the time buying like an Avid system was 150 grand, and moving
Mm-hmm.
content over, and storing that content was exceptionally expensive. Technology would
Yeah.
get cheap enough for me to move this content over to digital, to then move it back to vinyl, to put it out the way it was originally intended. And my plan
Oh,
was,
interesting. Yeah.
I'd start working with all these people to like develop a network to figure
Yeah.
out, hey, where can I find these artists? How can I locate these artists? Because I want to reunite the artist with their lost music.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so this is obviously why I'm still doing fintech, trying to pay the bills. And
Yeah.
but over around 2015 or so, I had made enough connections and found somebody who eventually became my business partner and a couple of my record labels, and he helped immensely, help kind of steer the ship while I was keep the dream alive while I was doing the fintech component.
Mm-hmm.
But what ended up happening was really simple. We started releasing this material on vinyl, and saving the money that's generated for the families and the artists when we find them. And it's called
Wow.
Preservation Project. It's a fun special thing, right? And we
Yeah.
do it in a limited batch vinyl, and we try to take care of the whole scene so it feels respectful of the art form.
Yeah.
And so we started releasing this vinyl, and it wasn't until maybe the second release, it wasn't very long, where we started to get a small but global following. So people around the globe were wanting to buy this unreleased
Hmm.
music.
How were you guys like promoting it and stuff at that time?
Just Instagram,
Okay, so people
it
find out
just
about it. Okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
My business partner has been in the space for a long time. Has been in the industry for a long time, and so that obviously helps a lot. People knew him, and were very
Mm,
aware of his knowledge,
yeah.
and so we were just promoted through Instagram. And what ended up happening is, people in Norway would write me a DM and be like, why does it cost $30 to ship a 7-inch to Norway? And my instant answer would be, why do you live in Norway? Wrong answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Norway's beautiful. There's a reason why you live in Norway.
There you go. There you
But
go. I haven't been, but I've heard. Yeah.
but the point is, they'd say, just put it on Spotify. If you put this content on Spotify, then I can enjoy it, and
Mm,
I can listen anytime I want. I don't have to pay $25 for shipping or whatever.
mm-hmm.
And what even in 2016, it didn't take much more than a Google search to realize if I put this artist content on Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll do the right thing, because in my mind, from relieving my headache, because now I'm not getting these like DMs that are all mean
Yeah.
about shipping costs, but I'd be doing the wrong thing in regards to protecting the revenue of these
Mm,
artists, and
okay.
I didn't feel like that was the right path.
Mm-hmm.
So that's whenever I tapped my buddy who has been helping me build stuff in fintech land for the last 15 years, and I said, hey
Mm-hmm.
Ben, let's build a streaming platform that's really built for somebody who wants to enjoy music, and for the artist to make a nice recurring revenue. Which today sounds, to your point, there's a bunch of these different platforms that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
but at the time there was primarily Patreon. And so we built an audio and video streaming platform for musicians to offer to their fans, and gives them a really strong recurring revenue.
Mm,
Particularly helps solve one really big pain point that we heard over and over again from fans, which was my favorite artists are doing like a cool demo or a live thing on Insta, and it's
mm-hmm.
there for like a minute, and then like 3 months later I want to pull it up and listen to it, and I'm on the bus or I'm on the train, I can't find it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
is there one place where I could just simply play all this like white space content, this content that's not on a DSP but is kind
Mm,
of everywhere else.
sure.
And
Sure.
so that's what we were solving, and that product's called Nerve FM. And to be quite frank, almost as soon as we built it, we started taking it to artists and saying, hey, what do you think about this? And they go, wait a second, this is really nice, it's beautiful, I like it, but didn't you say you were in banking? It's like, yeah, but I'm cool, don't worry about that. Just, do you like this app? Yeah, I love the app,
Right.
but you said you're in banking, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Could you build me a bank? And
Mm,
and I go, tell me what you mean by that, because I've been in the banking, I've been in the fintech space in particular, in banking, and for quite a while. I've spoken on it many times a year at conferences. I've written a book on the subject. Tell me
mm,
what your problem is as an artist
yeah.
with banking, and I'll find you 15 companies that solve your problem. There's thousands of fintech companies out there, so
Yeah.
and it didn't matter which artist I was talking to, what stage of their career, what type of genre of music they were doing, whether they were vocalists or they were instrumentalists or hip hop, or they were live bands, wedding bands. It almost didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
These were, it was, and even all over the world, the musicians' problems were all very similar,
Mm-hmm.
and there was nobody solving these problems. So that's whenever Ben and I looked at each other. We said, "There's nobody else to solve this problem than us. Let's take Nerve FM, which is a really brilliant streaming service. We'll leave it in beta for now, and we'll focus entirely on building Nerve, the banking product. And
Mm.
so Nerve, the banking product, we just officially launched, and the streaming product will is obviously still available today, and will bring out in a big way early next year. Long
Very.
story for you.
Nah, that's a fantastic background. That's super helpful. I should mention that like I purposefully only do a certain amount of research beforehand, so
Mhm.
I wasn't too familiar with Nerve FM,
Yeah,
and as well as Nerve itself. Like I know at a high level what it is, as you mentioned, banking for musicians. But I have just two questions. First of which is when you mentioned live streaming earlier, is this or I should say, when you mentioned streaming earlier, is this for Nerve FM for people who are doing like live sets as well as streaming the music a la a Spotify, or is it just one of those two?
it's both. And
Okay.
as far as the live streaming component goes, like you can either stream directly from the app, or if you're not acoustic and you really are you've got a more complex setup, you can use something like OBS and tie into that.
Oh, wow.
And it's got there's multiple layers of broadcasting as well, capabilities. So if you want to go to a couple different platforms at the same time, but you want Nerve FM to be
Mm-hmm.
the source, start there.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty. Like I said, it's a rad, sophisticated product. It's beautiful.
Mm.
We have you know paying subscribers using it. Probably only about 20 or so artists today, because as I said, we kind of just left it in beta for them to enjoy and beat up,
Yeah.
and thankfully the product's going great. It's just it's been chugging along.
That's incredible. I mean, so when we opened the show before I hit the record button, we were chatting a little bit about how when I hear about live streaming platforms that are built by and built for musicians, I didn't even realize that we were going to be talking about one that you guys kind of were instrumental in kind of getting off the ground. So I guess my question, because I'm kind of curious about this, there's one called Trubify. Have you heard of this company before?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Explain it.
it's fine. No worries at all. It's brand new. It's a brand new of that sort of genre, right? Built for and built by musicians. And then there's another one that I just found out about recently called Volume.
Hmm.
Same sort of tagline, if you want to call it that. So I guess I'm just out of curiosity because I would love to check out, and check out the beta because I like. I mean, I'm not going to tilt the camera over, but I do a ton of piano live stream and I do a ton of production. And I'm still very much in that space where I'm trying to figure out like a home base kind of place to stream. Certainly, Nerve FM with it being in beta might be something where it's maybe a little bit ways off and stuff as you guys focus on the banking part of it. But I guess my question would be sort of for me and for anyone else watching, like what would be the value add of using a Nerve FM over say Twitch or a
Yeah.
YouTube Live or something?
Yeah, I mean, so the benefit over those very simple platforms is, uh, I don't. It'll be not. I'm not going to call out anybody in particular, but I'll say this: the
Mm-hmm.
first main benefit is your subscribers are your subscribers. So it's your data, which is really really important. When you look at a lot of platforms out there, especially when you look at a lot of platforms, the data about the subscribers is typically unavailable to you, or at
Mm-hmm.
best aggregated to you as an artist. And so what that means is you're unable to maybe reach out um, to those subscribers as efficiently as you would if you actually controlled that data. So there's the
Got you.
data layer, which is really, really important to us, to Nerve. We believe very strongly that whether it's Nerve FM or it's Nerve Banking, that the data and the insights driven from the data about an artist's life is and from his or her career, something that should always be in their hands and available to them. to do with at any point, right? As long as you're
Yeah.
abiding by obvious, consumer protection rules, right? There's a there's this obfuscation that's existed in the music industry, in banking as well, for that definitely harms those who actually are the lifeblood of the music industry.
Hmm.
And so one of our core tenets is absolutely seeking to kind of provide transparency as opposed to the obfuscation that's existed.
Makes sense.
Um, so that's one aspect. Another very simple aspect that a lot of artists kind of cling to is, oh well, crap, I can make more money um,
Yeah. Important.
with Nerve FM. The other kind of interesting aspect to Nerve FM, which is more of a consumer component, is we have this like, oh, I can subscribe to single artists, but also we have the ability for a consumer to subscribe to the platform, and they can enjoy the content from all of the artists. And what we do is we enable the consumer to effectively select like up to three artists that they want to give the majority of their subscription revenue to. They can change it
Mm.
out each month, but it allows
Pretty
again.
cool.
It's another sort of moneymaker for the artist. The last piece I'll
Yeah.
say is, for every fan that an artist brings to the platform, they that fan gets registered according to that artist. So if that fan, so in other words, that artist receives a monthly recurring revenue amount for as long as that fan subscribes to the platform,
Mm.
which
Smart.
allows them to always maintain sort of, they're always making money on bringing their hard-earned fans to our product,
Mm.
as opposed to the way a lot of platforms work, which is, hey, just bring your fans. It's going to be good
Mm-hmm.
for you. Let's
Mm-hmm.
show you how it's going to be good for you. Every single fan that you
Interesting.
slept in a van for, and you traveled the country for, and you worked your booty off for, well, you deserve to see the benefits of that, as you build your platform, and as well ours.
That's really cool. Very cool, actually. And I think that what's jumping out to me as something that I think is just fascinating, and putting my MBA hat on for a moment and thinking about like the business, this particular business moving forward. When I say this, meaning I should say this, not specifically Nerve, but live streaming for musicians. This general, what's the word I'm looking for? Not topic, but this type of business. Let's just call it that. There's a different word I'm looking for. It's not coming to me right now. But
It's like a
I'm
category
wondering.
or something like that, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we'll say,
Yeah,
or sector, category, or vertical of business. Yeah, one of
yeah.
those. Yep.
Vertical's
So
nice.
my thought is like, is man. So there was Trubify as the first one I've heard of, and then about a week ago, I do a lot of Reddit live streaming, which is no Reddit is incredible for reach, but there's no money, no nothing like that. So it's more of like a way to get your name out there and stuff as an auxiliary platform, as what I've learned, right? There's been times I've had, I tell the story multiple times, but like in the course of a 2 hour live stream, I've had over 200,000 unique viewers, which is orders of magnitude more than any other platform combined, to the whatever power.
Well, you
But
haven't put this one out yet. This one's going to be at least 10 million, so don't worry about it.
this one, your
Yeah,
one,
with my name attached, you'll get 10 million.
there you are. You talk okay. So then you talk about this episode. Well, this episode I'm excited about, just because, like I said earlier, bro. I didn't explicitly say it this way, but there's so much value add already for me. First of all, just in terms of what you mentioned earlier with the whole fact that you used to be a DJ, and the first thing that I showed you here is something that I feel like I have such a vast. I think all of us, most of us probably do, right? But like a great taste in music and a very vast sort of different genres kind of thing. And I produce music and make music. And I've thought about, I was like, man, like I always love when friends reach out, or if we're having a party and I'm in charge of the playlist. That's one of my most exciting things. For our wedding, we got married in Mexico, and that I spent like so long. I had the Excel sheets going for like the dinner, the welcome party, and then for the rehearsal dinner, and for the like. I was okay. This song could be played in these two things, but it can't be played here, because I was very, very meticulous about it. And so to that point, when I mentioned about getting this device here, now that I'm being able to do live streams and manipulating songs that I love and sharing songs that I know and that we all know and enjoy, Michael Jackson, for example, and just making it sound different than we're used to. I can't even explain, and especially what it's doing for my channel. Like it's giving me a thing that there's no one else using. There's rarely anyone using this device, period. But the people that are using it are doing something in more of the ambient space, which there's a feature that lets you turn any song to like an ambient version of the song, which is incredible in
That's
its own
cool.
right.
That's cool.
It's
Yeah.
so cool. And at first I thought it was like kind of a gimmick because I was like, okay, this just sounds like random whooshing sounds. They can do this with anything. But then as I was skipping, I had like my playlist of like songs that I actually made on
Mhm.
YouTube Music. And as I'm skipping through the songs, I of course know those intricately, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, holy cow! Like, I can hear the semblance of this instrument. I'm like, this is on some next level. So
Wow.
they're really. I mean, I don't want to talk them up too much, but I'm not like this is not sponsored by them or anything. Like, technically, this equipment is sponsored by them because they sent this to me. But this episode is not sponsored by them or anything. But when you mentioned it about DJing, like that's something that I think we right away kind of have in common.
Yeah.
And then your call to action to do something right that is right for the artist, right for the artist, in terms of that whole program that you mentioned, where you know
With
you're
Preservation
giving
Project, you mean?
restoration project, yes, giving
Preservation
credit.
Project. Yep.
Preservation, I'm
You
sorry,
got it.
yes,
Yeah.
preservation project.
Hmm.
Giving credit and giving some visibility, right, to these artists, I think is incredible. And I would
Thank you.
imagine, so kind of going towards your, well, I'll finish my thought about the live streaming thing. I'm just very curious as a person who wants to use a platform that values what I bring to the table as a musician, as a talent, as someone who's building his audience, and also one that is not already completely and utterly flooded as a Twitch is, while taking into consideration things like I have a YouTube channel. YouTube is my home base for all of my content. Why don't I just stream on YouTube? It's discoverable. It's all, so I've been doing that a little bit too, but it so far turns out uh, that YouTube's the way to find musicians like myself. It's extremely excruciatingly difficult to find live musicians on YouTube because you filter by live and then you can see everything live going on. But like the vast majority of the music stuff, Lo-Fi Girl, jazz 24/7, jazz, like it's not a live person playing. It's like music that's just going. And I'm like okay, that's cool. And it's like, 5,000 people in there just chatting. People use it for what it is. I get it. But what about people who want to find live artists? Like
Right.
it's almost impossible to find. So until they do something about that, I think it's very difficult, for me to kind of figure that piece out. So I'm definitely going to be in lockstep with you about Nerve FM. I think that, I have no allegiance. I've been in heavy talks with Trubify, but I mean, I'm streaming on their platform every Tuesday night. I have like the Trubify sticker on my wall and stuff, but it's
Dope.
just, it's like one of those things where they're just starting out. I'm kind of taking off, and I want to, I want to see who's willing to kind of work with me and stuff. So
Yeah.
I definitely will be in contact with you about that. But I do want to talk a little bit about the banking aspect. I want to kind of understand why a musician needs a banking app or banking program for musicians. Why can't they just use Bank of America or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Hmm.
I there's several reasons, but to kind of paint the picture, I think you got to set with I'll stay with the picture metaphor since I said it. You gotta start with the canvas. How about that?
There we
I was gonna
go.
say
Of
lay the
course.
foundation, but goodness,
There you go. I
that's
like the
totally
canvas.
mixed
That's good. We're
metaphors. That
just
ain't gonna
staying right
work.
in that same category. I like it.
Yeah, you gotta. Man, well, I guess really I'd have to. What is it that you apply? You put gesso on the canvas. Is that what it is?
Oh, I'm
Uh,
not even sure. I'm not a
yeah,
painter
I
at
don't know if
all.
you're like oil painting. Anyway, point
Someone out there, let us know. Let us know in the comments below if
is.
that's true. Someone will know.
So the point of it is, it all starts with what we found is a lot of the troubles. There's several layers of trouble, but if you look at the very foundation of where a lot of this stuff starts, it starts with the fact that if you're a musician and you're making some money, you start realizing, especially these days, So let's start with musician today. It's probably the easiest use case. If you're a musician today, you're making some money. You're typically getting paid through 5, maybe 10 different revenue streams.
Yeah.
And these revenue streams might not be very big, but they can be like, I've got some like BMI money that comes in. I've got money from a digital distributor like CD Baby that comes in. I've got
Hmm.
money from maybe I drive for Lyft to help support my guitar habit, right? and
Hmm.
and so I've got that money that I want to put towards my music career. I've got
Hmm.
not to mention maybe there's tips that come in through the Cash App, right?
Mm.
Name all of your different sources,
Sure.
and instantly what starts to happen is it gets clouded inside of the noise of my banking account, like my personal banking account.
Hmm.
So an artist will suddenly say, "Well, shoot, I'm gonna clean this place up. I'm gonna get myself a business banking account, right?"
Hmm.
So you call up Bank of America or whatever. You go in, or you go to the web, or you're on the app, and you're like, "I want to spin up a business banking product." And they're like, "Okay, cool.
Hmm.
So what we're gonna need from you is your Secretary of State documents, your articles of incorporation, your EIN, and $20 a month." And you're like, "What? No." And I'll just deal with the noise. I'll just deal with the pain because I'm not an incorporated business. I want the separation, right? I
Gotcha.
want a debit card that's tied to it so that my expenses are easily in one separate area for tax reporting. And
Gotcha.
and so there's like all of this like very foundational stuff uh, that is that's just a host of like noise that's created. And that's really the best way for me to put it is this
Hmm.
cacophony. And so what we thought it was, well, let's make it first super easy to allow an artist to easily get a business banking account. So that's what Nerve is to start with. It takes about 45 seconds. You don't need to be incorporated. You don't need all these documents. Um, and really, what you do is if you have an ID, you scan the little barcode on the back, and we verify that you're a human, and you have this checking account, savings account, and that's like the start of separating your personal world from your business world.
Right.
And so that's the very first sort of gem of where we start with the product. Then the the beauty of what happens is kind of the world of the business banking for an artist starts to kind of reveal itself. So, for instance, we walk you through the steps of taking those different CD Baby, Bandcamp money, all that different money, and moving it directly into Nerve. It's super easy to do. Walk you through how to do it.
Hmm.
And now it's coming into into the Nerve account. We start sort of monitoring that money because it may blow you away, but sometimes that money just kind of stops coming in, and and
Mm.
and you don't notice it if it's in the cloud of a bunch of other transactions and things. So
Hmm.
we put a little intelligence on that and say, well, this payment normally hits, as you know, some of these payments hit every 3 months, some of them hit
Hmm.
every 6 months, some of them are every year,
Hmm.
some of them are not until there's $50 or whatever the case may
Hmm.
be.
Yeah.
And so we start putting logic around that so that we could start nudging you. Hey, we didn't see that payment come in from this provider. Is it possible it went to a different account, or maybe it's time to call somebody up and
Hmm.
and figure out what's going on?
Wow.
And so the again, that's a set of use cases that a traditional bank would never think or deal with, because building all of that technology makes no sense for a
Yep.
traditional bank that's kind of serving general audience.
Yep.
But then there's a lot of other things. So for instance, we take the common use case of I pay session musicians.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm a studio, or maybe I'm just an artist who doesn't have full time band, or whatever the case is, or
Hmm.
I need somebody to come in and sit with me, and so I pay them now through Venmo, or I
Hmm.
pay them through PayPal or whatever mechanism. Uh, there's a couple of things that happen there. The first thing that happens is, of course, the one everybody sees, which is fees. There's Venmo recently put 1.9% plus 10 cents on that business to business transaction.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
PayPal, of course, has had it for years. We sidestep it and we go, oh, it's friends and family, wink, wink. Well, as
I
soon
don't do
as
that. I don't do that.
somebody does that, I heard.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Someone out there.
and this is where the silent killer is, and the way I say it, it probably sounds like goodness, he's really making a mountain out of a molehill. But I want you to follow me on this. When you start making payments that are, or you're taking payments that are outside of what's seen as like the traditional banking infrastructure, those payments or that income
Mm-hmm.
is unknown to the person who's lending you money. Or at best, it's seen, but I have no idea what the source of that revenue is. I don't know that
Okay.
it's tips or it's just your uncle giving you cash. I don't know,
Gotcha.
I don't know any of that stuff. And so if I'm a
Right.
traditional lender and I want to lend you, you come in and you want to get a car and you need an auto loan, I'm going to look at, okay, what's your W-2 action look like? What's the payments that I expect a salaried employee to get every 2 weeks? And you're like, well, I don't do
Right.
that. Okay. Well, what are your sources of income? Well, every 6 months I get a check from a PRO. Okay. Okay. And the traditional lenders have no idea how to lend on that. So what ends up happening is whether it's an auto loan or a mortgage or a tour loan, something at the business level, um, most of those income streams are at best absent in the world of a lender. At worst, they're anyway. Let's just say at best they're absent, and so what
Mm-hmm.
ends up happening is the price of your loan, the price of your car, right, the price of your auto loan, the price of your house, or even whether you're able to buy that condo or whatever it is you're trying to buy, goes out the window. Not just because your tip money is coming through Venmo, but because your expenses and a variety of other payments that maybe you're making or you're receiving is coming from a
Yeah.
variety of external sources. So there's fees that we get rid of with our person-to-person payments. So we have this ability to make instant nerve account to nerve account payments just like Venmo or PayPal,
Mm.
except it's at the business level and it stays within your business account, whether you're receiving the money
Mm-hmm.
or you're getting it. So there's a
Okay.
level of data there that's really really interesting. That of course you're going to want when it comes time for reporting taxes,
Yeah.
because when you do start to report taxes, and that's very very important. But as an artist, the more when you start doing that, what it does is if you're making payments that are outside of a traditional the banking paradigm, you you necessarily sort of forget certain expenses that you may have had that are absolutely related to your business, which means
Yeah.
that you're unable to kind of claim that stuff. So,
Right.
so it's all circular, right? All of this stuff that I'm saying, it's like, well, that relates to that, which relates to that, which is, and ultimately, what that means is it can't be solved with just a payments card. The problems I'm mentioning can't be solved with just a little, royalty-based mechanism to allow you to split royalties. It's
Yeah.
at the atomic level. It's at that level of where your funds are hitting and how are you, and then now how do all those atoms connect, and and how are we actually, what are we doing with that data, so that we can now better your life and make sure that your income's actually hitting, and make sure that from an expense perspective you're managing those. So anyway, so that's a little bit of a of the hows and whys of Nerve.
That sounds fantastic. Everything that you just said, I guess with the exception of like the fact that I've put together like the LLC thing for not even so much for my content creation stuff, for my tutoring and mentoring business and piano lesson business, which actually this it's called K-Mats. I made that. My wife took me out to like one of those little mug places.
Nice.
And yeah, so I created an LLC a while ago for that, and I have like a DBA underneath that for like the other stuff that I'm doing. So I guess the point I was going to make there is that that hurdle for me wouldn't be there necessarily, right, with my business account, which I do have one with Bank of America. Everything past that point, however, just in terms of getting a better grip on the fact that, yes, like you said, there's just so many, and it grows by the day now, not by the day, but maybe by the week or month, like different platforms that you're getting revenue from, and in little bits, or how whatever you have going on, and like you said, $50 or $100 increments, and bi-monthly or whatever. That it's hard to kind of get like all that stuff together, and sometimes you just like you have it all synced up, and you just assume, right? This is what I do. Just assume that everything is good there. I'm not like actively checking stuff there. I don't know how often things are going. Sometimes you have to go into the app to like withdraw it and all that stuff like that. So something like this would be extremely appealing for me, as I'm starting to realize, by the end of this year, the importance, now that I'm fully, in little background. Like I left being a full-time teacher for 2 years, and now I'm fully in with the entrepreneur for the tutoring and mentoring business, plus the content creation stuff. So I'm very much excited about the future. But now these sort of things like your taxes and the importance of bookkeeping and all that stuff is sort of at the forefront, for next year and beyond. I want to make sure that I'm like well ahead of all that type of thing. So that sounds great. So let me ask this last question here. So you mentioned you guys just launched recently. So if I wanted to sign up, or if people wanted to sign up, they can go to the website. It's a free service.
Yes, absolutely. It is free.
Okay. How do you guys make money?
Uh, right now, every way that we will make money is will either be opt-in or just very known to our card holders,
Okay.
or account holders. The first way that we make money is it comes with a card, so you get a little Nerve card, right, for your
Mm.
business, and
Mm-hmm.
whenever you swipe a card, just like you swipe any other card, that merchant pays what's called interchange revenue to the bank. We share in that, so
Gotcha.
we make money that way. Another
Gotcha.
way that we make money is called interest income. We don't have any minimum deposit amounts or minimum amounts that you need to keep in your account. Uh,
Yeah.
but it adds up. So the more artists we have using the platform, the more money. Even if they each only have $200, it adds up to money. We get
Yeah.
paid by our bank, where our bank partner that
Yep.
stores the funds. So
Gotcha.
so we make money that way. In a couple of months, we'll have an opt-in service that's think of it as like a tax preparation product that'll automatically do your business taxes for you.
Oh.
And so again, it's opt-in. There's a fee involved, and we take some of that money. But
Mm-hmm.
we also have we have other plans in place for revenue, but those are the ones that are there today. And every plan that we have for revenue is to be mindful of our account holders and make sure that it's something that they know of, and they're not
Sure.
paying, right, unless they want to.
Right.
So yes, it is free. You just go to nerve.pro to sign up. You download the app, and it takes about 45 seconds to open the account. Um, we did have kind of a slew of. Right now, we have a guest list of a couple of thousand that are on like a guest list scenario, and so we're working through the guest list right now. So depending upon
Yeah.
when this show hits, there may be a guest list, and we're working through that as fast as we can.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I wanted to say in particular about the product, because it's coming out in a couple of weeks and I'm super excited about it.
Nice.
If you could imagine, you're in a band called Chord and the Khordmasters, right?
Okay.
And Chord is the lead singer,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say he's the singer and the drummer. You do
Mm-hmm.
both, because I always admire that.
Nice. Yeah.
So you're the singer and the drummer, and you decide that you want your band to also have accounts with Nerve. So maybe Chord has his own accounts because he's a session drummer and whatever, but also his band can have Nerve accounts,
Mm-hmm.
as maybe they're a corporation or something like that. They don't have to be, but maybe they could. The chord masters can then invite all the different band members, and some of the
Mm-hmm.
band members can be like view only. So they can't mess with the money. They don't get cards, but they at least get to see and get the
Yeah.
transparency behind. Oh, we actually didn't make as much money as we thought we did. The gas
Yep.
gas actually does cost as much as quote said it did. And then a nominated person could be in control of the money, or maybe a business manager could be in control of the money, and the band sees it all.
Yeah.
And so that sort of transparency is also something that will be available inside of the app very soon.
That's a huge value add for that as well, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to have that delineation of what you are or and are not allowed to do, but the fact that you have the visibility for everyone
Yep.
that's in the band to be able to see. And I'll say this last thing, and then we'll wrap. Is I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I am wrong. Talk a little fast there. But so this platform, to me, I see people in the gaming industry and just in the content creation industry, as well as musicians, see like having a lot of immense value in this app. Are you guys promoting it mostly towards musicians, or is it for the creator in this century?
It's the music creator is the way we put it today,
Okay.
and the reason is because you might not think of yourself as a musician, but maybe you're a producer or what have you. But arguably you're a music creator, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's where we station it today.
Okay.
And I mean, one of the features that I didn't even mention is if you happen to be streaming on Spotify, if you're somebody who puts your material on Spotify, we bring in your Spotify for Artists data. We bring in your TikTok followers, your YouTube subscribers, your Insta, your Facebook, SoundCloud, Twitter. We bring all that directly into the app, again, at no cost, so that you can
Mm-hmm.
monitor on a daily, how are you trending from a listener's
Oh,
perspective and everything else. And that's part of the free value for those who are ingrained in that. And so that is something that's very specific to music as well. But again, it's
that's
you
big.
wouldn't miss it if you weren't a Spotify streamer. But if you are somebody who's in that world, you're going to gain a lot as well from the product.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I'm gonna absolutely take a look at this later on tonight. Today's my
Please do.
huge long day of back to back, like 6 hour tutoring slash piano lessons kind of thing. Tuesday at 4 o'clock is when I start to like 9:30, and then tomorrow same thing. But I love it though, and I'm
Thank you.
enjoying it, and it's a blessing that the demand is there and stuff. But I just want to take a moment to just say thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. I definitely want to keep in touch with you for sure. And as I am figuring out my strategy for this show, certainly almost definitely I'm going to be like rebranding it and just trying to figure out exactly what makes the most sense for a value add to my audience, as well as me, as well as my guests that kind of all need to be there. And conversations like this, when we're talking about things that can benefit musicians in a way that, as you may or may not realize, but hopefully you do, it was just a conversation. It wasn't a sale kind of
Right.
thing. It was like hearing about that, which I really appreciate.
Hmm.
So I just want to say thank you for the time, and definitely we'll be in contact,
Thank you.
just to see what other ways that we could support each other. Like I can see the value add for sure immediately as you're explaining those things. I'm glad you mentioned that snapshot sort of dashboard view with all your social platforms,
Yeah.
because that gets a little much having to go to all these different places, and we don't want to be too entrenched in the numbers of followers, but it is important as creators, as we know, like that stuff we have. I guess I'm saying it like I know for a fact. Whether it's important or not, I guess is in the eye of the beholder. I'm trying to take a little bit of a step back away from social media personally, but I know that it's important to have a presence there and to know what's going on at the very least. So,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Absolutely. And
uh,
not to be distracted by cat videos while you're doing it, right? So we keep you focused on the
exactly.
numbers, and for the people who
That's big.
that world can run their career, especially if you're talking about Spotify numbers,
Yeah,
that can be really really important. This is the way to do it without having to go log into a bunch of different places.
yeah. My man, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll catch you next time.
Thank you.